Hi, Ed. Quick question just to kind of change pace a little bit. I know we haven't really talked about it, and I haven't heard the candidates too much on this issue, and I know it's a big one. We are a sports town. So let's talk about the Rays for a second.
Batter up.
I'm curious as to what your stance is on where the city of Tampa should stand as far as the stadium goes and what role the mayor should play in a leadership position. Do you think it's something we should fight for? Is it something we should let St. Pete play out? Is it something worth spending money on down the road, for the future of the area?
I've done 3 sports deals as a county commissioner. I think I understand these dynamics. So let me lay it out as clearly as I can. St. Petersburg has a lease with the Rays. Pinellas County has devoted tourist tax to that lease. The first thing that would have to happen is the Rays either say we're not going to be here, or Pinellas County said we can't live to those terms and conditions. Any facility the Rays are talking about, though, is costing like $500 million. Those are big, big numbers. And you turn and look at Hillsborough County and say, or City of Tampa, what role could we conceivably play in that to make the numbers worthwhile? And you start understanding that maybe it's $100 million or $200 million before things start making sense for them. And that's just wild guesses. I'm not suggesting that's the right number. We don't really have that capacity in our tourist taxes or our half-cent sales tax, because those things are pretty much obligated for a very long time, through 2027. In Pinellas County, their penny for Pinellas is expiring in 2017. I believe that's the date. And they have a very robust bed tax. Pinellas County, by virtue of those 2 revenue sources, is in a far greater position, has far greater financial capacity to do a public-private partnership with the Rays than we can on this side of the bay. It's not saying that Pinellas County would do that or the voters there would approve it. It was put to referendum. It's really hard to see, though, how the numbers can come together and work in any reasonable time frame on this side of the bay, practically speaking. I don't understand how that would happen. The role of the mayor of Tampa, I think, is to be honest with people. People have said, we don't want to lose the Rays, and I absolutely agree with that. I think the right location for the Rays would be about a mile from here. And the Lightning did that whole assessment when they were looking at it, and I was intimately involved in that deal. Lightning was over in the Thunderdome. They were talking about being on Dale Mabry, and the Lightning said, their assessment said the best place for them to be was downtown Tampa, because there's parking and the transportation infrastructure comes together. But having said that it should be there, and getting it there are 2 different things. And I expect that, certainly from my priorities perspective, my priorities are, as I articulated, blocking and tackling, going for the long ball on jobs, building a regional transportation system, and making sure the public budgets don't come at the expense of your own. There's not a lot of room in there to be dealing with baseball. It might come up. I will close with this. If it does, I learned that when you're dealing with pros, you better bring the pros in to help you. Dick Greco and Dan Clayman negotiated the deal with the Bucks, and it got served up to us. And in that first iteration, the Bucks would have totally controlled and operated Raymond James Stadium. And I said, wait a minute, what about USF? And we rejected that deal and retooled it. One thing I know for sure is I would go get the very best law firm in the country to work on behalf of the county and the city in figuring out what can be done and what should be done. We need the pros from Dover to help us if the pros from Pinellas want to come over here.
Hello, Mr. Turanchik. My name is Rose, and just first I want to say I've been a resident of Tampa for over 40 years, so I feel almost totally Tampanian. And the reason I state that, because I have three quick questions. One, because I'm involved a lot with international affairs, I would like to know what your vision is for both business and the economy to working with Tampa. Two, if the governor, if there's not a way to pull the money together for the train, what do you propose? And third, down to business, if you were the mayor and you had to deal with our water problems, what would you propose to do?
On the water problems, do you
Well,
mean the metering stuff?
The metering,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Like when you have something that really comes,
Yeah.
right to your plate in front of you that day. Thank you.
I'm going to go back on the international trade issue, go back to earlier answers and say I think that we need to market Tampa Bay area as one, and I think we need to work in conjunction with Central Florida. We as a super region have the 7th largest population in the United States of America and the 10th largest economy. High-speed rail facilitates the movement of goods and people between those, particularly people, and provides for a way of clustering those assets. It's a remarkable commodity in the world marketplace. Without high-speed rail, it's less marketable, but I think it's still viable because there's a lot of people that live in Tampa Bay and work in Orlando and vice versa. You have these emerging technology and biomedical complexes at the in Orlando, in the Moffett. Jackson comes here. That's just icing on the cake. So I think that's one of the pieces. Obviously, tourism's a big deal, and that's marketed very well, and I doubt that Central Florida is ever going to market them with us. If high-speed rail doesn't happen, I think we need to look seriously at upgrading the existing CSX line for intercity passenger rail service from Tampa to Orlando to Miami. I don't know how many of you have taken that train. It's actually a great trip. The problem is it goes once a day there and once a day back. We do need to create some kind of transit component between the two, because as it is now, there are 10 accidents a day on I-4 and 1 death every 11 days. And you never know when you're going to get there when you go out there. The last question, metering. I am a technology guy and think smart grids are important and information is important, and there are technological options that provide for instantaneous readouts of water meters. I don't know what the economics of that are, but ultimately where we need to go as a society in our homes and our businesses is that you have instantaneous knowledge of your electric use and instantaneous knowledge of your water use. How we do it now, you don't find out what you use till 60 days after you use it. It's not a particularly effective way to manage a resource. It's kind of like never looking at your checking account till after the end of the month and say, oh my God, I'm overdrawn. It's silly. Johnson & Johnson, a whole host of private sector companies have different metering technologies, and the most sophisticated of which is they put a wireless meter on your house that provides instantaneous readouts to the water department and I believe to your home. So if there was a leak, you would know it. There's a capital cost to that, but these companies represent that the actual cost savings from having meter readers go out there, and believe it or not, increased revenue because you actually charge people for the water they use versus the water they leak, actually ends up paying for itself. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I think it's something we should look at.
Thanks. And it is now 7 o'clock. So if there's not a final question from anyone in the audience, I will say thanks, Ed. And again, thanks to Tampa Digital for live streaming. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in online. Thanks to the Heights. And thanks, everyone, for being here. And Ed's going to have some time to hang around. So please grab a beer, grab a glass of wine at the bar, and get to know Ed a little bit more.
But before we sign off,
Before we sign off,
voting is March 1st. Go to the polls. Make a difference in your life. If you don't like anything you heard here today, go vote for the candidate that you like. John F. Kennedy became president of the United States because of one vote per precinct. Look what happened in 2000. Al Gore and Bush. Whatever you come down, whoever you liked or did not like, these elections are close, and this election is very, very close. We would love to have your support. We believe that we are prepared to transform Tampa into a 21st century city. We'd like to have your vote often, but it's not Chicago, so we only want it once. But make sure you vote in the early voting or on March 1st. There will be a runoff here. According to the most recent polls we know of and exit polling, we are in the thick of things, and we may be running first. Numbers, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Numbers are trending to us strongly. We can make a difference. We can change our future. Together we can build a great city for us, our children, and our grandchildren. Thank you all.
thanks, Ed. Also, too, if you are new to supporting Ed, we have a lot of needs for volunteers. See me, and I can let you know about opportunities available. Please encourage your friends, get out and vote. And also, too, if you are so moved to make a donation tonight, it helps us get on TV and spread the word more. So see me about that, too. Thanks. Swarm? Tonight. Oh, and Friday night, for all of you who are looking for happy hour, there's going to be a Swarm for Ed at the Independent.